up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Strength is the Foundation. Today, we're going to be talking about getting back to the gym after being ill. Let's have a look. All right, so this is coming off my own experience. About 4 weeks ago, I got I had what I thought was just a bit of a mild cold, and it just developed into, I don't know, a really heavy cold. It went to my chest. I had this cough. It was horrendous. It just went on. It went on for some time, like a good couple of weeks, before I could even think about, getting back to training properly. But in fact, it's been 4 weeks now, and I'm just about feeling normal again. Like, my energy levels were shot. Like just walking up the stairs. I was just out of breath, and it was so I don't know what it was. It might even have been COVID. I didn't test myself. Don't know, but all I know is it was an illness. It affected my training big time. Okay, so I know illnesses vary. They affect different people in different ways. If you're younger, of course, especially when I was younger, I could bounce back relatively quickly, really quickly, and then get back into the gym, and then, oh, right, that's fine, nothing, as if nothing happened. And I imagine, the older you get, the harder it is. But the purpose of this video is just to get you just to recognise that, if you are ill, it's not the end of the world to just take a little bit more time to feel well before you get back into the gym and you start hitting it hard again, because obviously illness does affect your recovery, your ability to recover, and it affects your performance. So I just want to talk you through how I dealt with this, but the first thing I'm going to do is show you this first slide, and this is the training pyramid. I don't know, I'll call it the training pyramid. There are a number of different versions of this, but this is kind of like shows you the fundamentals you need in place for effective training. So at the bottom here, I've got physical literacy. That's a nice big base on which to build a big foundation from which to build your training from. Your physical literacy, that's your ability to move with efficient mechanics, your ability to squat, to deadlift, to hinge properly, to push and to pull. So that's your physical literacy. So that always, whenever I'm building a program for a client, I make sure I have that in place first, so they can move really well. And from that, you build exercise, or you select effective exercises which complement that physical literacy. So, your barbell squats, your deadlifts, your unilateral work, your core stability work, your shoulder stability work, etc. And then above that comes consistency. So you notice how the pyramid is getting smaller towards the top. This is the most important. Well, I'll get to that in a second. This is the most important stuff compared to these guys up here. And when you're consistent, that's when you can push yourself with your intensity, with your performance within the workout. I've mentioned this, first of all, because a lot of people go to, I want to train really, really hard, so they go for performance first. So they're looking at performance, and that kind of like sits down here somewhere. But the performance aspect is quite a small part of the pyramid. So if you imagine, if your performance comes first, the balance isn't there, the foundation isn't there. There is one piece of this pyramid which I've when I learned this, there was one piece that I added to it, which is really important, and that is wellness, your health. Okay, because if you're not healthy, if you're constantly in a sick state, catching like bugs and this and that, you're never gonna be able to perform. You're never gonna get to this point up here, performance, because you're never gonna be consistent enough in the gym to do any of these other things here. So if you're not well, your training is going to go out the window. So this is my point I'm trying to make, and the point I'm trying to make about this video in terms of being ill and how it affects your training. So this is what I did. The first thing I did was I stayed away from the gym. I know, as I mentioned before, there are people who can bounce back quite quickly. It depends on how it affects you. If it's just a mild cold, it's just a few days away, and then you can get back into your program nice and slow, and then you'll be back and you'll bounce back quite quickly. But in my case, this is a case where I'm 4 weeks later, and I'm still not 100%. Still not 100%. So what I did is I stayed away from the gym for a few days. In my case, it was like a week. Yeah, I stayed away for it, just made sure I felt something. I felt a little bit better, just a little bit more energy to just get back and do something. So the first thing I did was I just picked 4 basic exercises. Yeah, so a squat, a hinge, a push, and a pull. I didn't go with like any sort of core stability sort of stuff, because in terms of my levels of energy, that's all to do this sort of stuff. That's all I really had. So all I did was I got a modest weight. I did three sets of 3 reps pull squat. So therefore, like a reps in reserve of about 5. So nothing that was like super taxing. I just wanted to get moving and do something to just feel, kind of human again. Because I'm sure you'll agree that training is important in your life. It helps to it's kind of like it's like a fulcrum, isn't it? That everything else, if your training's going well, then other things in your life can actually go well as well. Because it's important to you. Your health is important, and it makes you feel good. You get that release of endorphins when you train, when training's going well. Of course, it's good for you. It's good for your health. So I was just getting back, and I just started off with a pull squat, 3 sets of 3 reps, modest, very very modest weight. I was just trying to get something going. Then I went on to a very easy deadlift, 3 sets of 3 again. Keeping it a nice, simple weight for me. Then I did a little superset of dumbbell bench press and chestboard mid-row. 2 sets each, 10 reps. Again, a weight that would still allow me to have like 3 in the tank. And then that's it, done, went home. That was it. That's all I did, went home. That later in that week, I think it was about 3 days later, my second session, I just switched up a little bit, did a box squat. I did 3 sets of 4. Instead of 3x3, 3 sets of 4. Just to add a little bit of volume, but of course, I think the load was slightly less as well. And then I did a deficit deadlift just to change that up a little bit. 3 sets of 4. I did a pause bench, 3 sets of 4. And then I just went to the lat pull down, 3 sets of 10, done. Again, finished. Left the gym, finished, all done. So that was my first week. Wasn't feeling fantastic. I felt a bit better after doing something, but I didn't have my energy levels back. I was still feeling quite tired when I, like just going to the shop, coming back, walking up the stairs and stuff, still feeling quite tired. So I thought, all right, I'll just leave it at that. I'll just eat well, sleep, and then just see how things feel the next week. So week 2, I went with similar exercises again, but instead of just straight sets, I did some ascending sets. So I think I went a little bit heavier on my last set. So the ascending sets is basically get to a weight where it's manageable but still challenging the level that you're at right now in terms of where I was, the way I was feeling at that moment in the gym. Bearing in mind I was still recovering from illness. So I got to 3 reps of a particular weight in the pause squat. I thought, okay, that's a decent working set. And then I just added 5 kilos for each set for 2 more sets. So I added 5. I can't remember, but I think it was like 105. I think it was something like that. So it was quite a lightweight for me. 105, 3 reps on that, and then I added 5 kilos, 110, 3 reps. Then I had another 5 kilos, 115, 3 reps. Right, that's it, done on pause squats. Let's move on to deadlift. I did a similar sort of thing. I think I started off at 145, 150, 155, something like. It's irrelevant what the number that I had on the bar. It was something very, very manageable, very, very easy. A little, I had to work a little bit, but it was still relatively easy for me. And I was just adding a little bit of weight on each set, and I stopped at after 3 sets. I just stopped after adding that final 5 kilos of weight. Then I went to just some straight dumbbell bench press. In this time I did 3 sets. The previous week I did 2 sets, so it's slightly more volume. I might have done a little bit more load. I don't know. I might have kept it the same, but slightly more volume just to get that going. And then that was it. 4 exercises done, gone. Out the gym. That'll do me. And then I came back to the gym again probably about 3 days later. Did a box squat. I didn't do ascending sets. I just did straight sets. And I probably did the same weight I did the previous week. So box sets, 3 sets of 4. Deficit deads, 3 sets of 4. Did the pause bench, 3 sets of 4, and lat pull down, 3 sets of 10. Done. That's it. That's week 2 done. Finished. So I'm running at 50%. 50% of my certainly my volume and my load, probably only doing about say 55-60% of what I normally lift for my main lifts anyway. So again, just trying to keep it simple, just trying to get moving, just trying to feel human again. My next, all right, 3rd week. So I did a little acclimation week for my 3rd week, but again, keeping the exercises modest, not doing any non-essential accessories. I just did basic stuff. So I kept the accessories that I would normally do. I kept them more or less out of it. So session 1, I did 2 sets of squats of 4 reps. Done. Rack pull, 2 sets of 7. So this is looking more like the program that I was on before I got sick, and it's the one I will be returning back to, but not quite yet. So I did 2 sets of 4, 2 sets of 7, rack pull. I did a high bar squat, 2 sets of 10, then single leg curl, 3 sets of 10. Done. Actually, was that 3 sets of 10 or 2? Sorry, mistake there. I think I just did 2 sets. Session 2, which was done the next day. Yes, I managed to do that the next day. So I did a bench set, 1 set of 3. Then I dropped 5% and did 2 sets of 4. Okay, kept it nice and simple, kept the technique nice. Then I just did dumbbell press, 2 sets of 12 with a chest supported row, 2 sets of 10. And then I think I did a couple of little upper body accessory things. I think I did an overhead press with a thick bar and did some arm work. Nothing too taxing, but I didn't bother putting it down here because it was nothing really, as I said, nothing very taxing. But this was the important stuff to get done. So that was the first 2 sessions of week 3. And then a 3rd session, I just did a little heart training session with the erg rower. That's what I would normally do in my in my main training anyway. So my normal training is 4 strength days a week, and I'll do a one session of like intervals, just to get the old heart working. So that's what I did on session 3. Nothing too. I had the heart rate monitor on me. I didn't push myself into max when I was doing this, so I kept myself just at the mid to top end of threshold on my heart rate monitor, just so I didn't push myself too hard. And then did a little bit of shoulder rehab when it went. So I mean, that session itself lasted about, with a little bit of mobility work at the beginning just to warm up. That session itself, I was in and out in 35 minutes, I think. So it's quite a that session is just quite a quick one. I came back the next day, and I went for my deadlift. So this is going back to the way I would normally deadlift, but not. I think I was probably about 10% below what I would normally lift if I was fit and well, 100% fit. I did for one set of 3. It was my top set. That was actually quite hard going. I dropped 10% off of that for my back offs. I had to do 2 sets of 4, and then I left that. I thought, right, okay, that was actually quite hard to take. Had a bit of rest before I went onto my box squats, but again, I did actually take quite a modest weight on my box squat, and did 2 sets of 5 of that. Then a little bit of accessory work, leg curl, and then that was the 4-way hip for my adductors, and that was week 3. So week 4, my next week is going to be my regular program. So I'm going to go back to my regular program, and I'm going to start at the beginning, which is going to be my acclimation phase, which is 2 sets of everything. I'll play it by ear. I'll probably have to use less because when I got sick, I was actually on week 1 of my program that I'm about to start again. So I'm restarting it. So I may not be able to start with the loads that I started with previously. So I don't mind dropping it like 5%. That's fine, because I'll get that back. But that's what I'm going to be doing next. So it's taken, for me 4 weeks to get back to pretty much where I was before I got ill, and that's just the way it is, really. But so takeaways from this is that take time to recover. Okay, I know it feels really rubbish. Like you've made your gains, things are going well for you. You get sick, and then you're out of the gym, and you think your training's suffering a little bit. But the thing is, it's only temporary. Okay, you'd be better off just to take the extra time to get better, to recover, and because the last thing you want is to go back to the gym too early, and then you're not recovering, and then you're set back. You've got another setback, and then you try and get back to the gym again and set back again, because that's happened to me before. So just make sure you're well and you're recovered and you feel 100% before you actually go back into the gym. And then when you do get back into the gym, take time to come back. Don't jump straight back into the routine that you were on before you got ill. Depending on how long you've been out of the gym, don't just go straight into that high intensity, all out training that you were doing before you got ill, because you're going to be opening yourself up for probably a recurrence of your illness, or you certainly open yourself up for injury. So don't do it. Acclimatize first. Give yourself a week, because you're not going to lose too much. Because you've got all this time to train. There isn't a race. Yeah, it's not a race. Take your time to get back, and then before you know it, you'll be back to where you were before, and you'll be making your gains just like before, and it'll be absolutely fine. But just take that time. Drop me a note in the comments, and I will see you guys again soon. Okay, so if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe.
Oh.